Hi, I'm at Ramshackle Games today with Curtis, long-time friend of the channel, who's brought out a new version of the game Mini Games. We thought we'd have a quick chat about that. So, welcome back, Curtis. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be back on your channel, James. Yeah, I really like your channel. So.
Although you've actually got your own YouTube channel now, I believe, as well.
Yeah, we started it, a couple of us, just putting stuff up. NG28.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the description.
Thank you.
But yeah, I've watched a couple of terrain builds you've done so far.
Yeah, it's really just like, you know, a lot of our friends are saying, oh, when's your YouTube channel going to be out, guys? And I'm like, oh, it's so much work. But they were just like, just do it. And I was like, it's kind of a New Year's resolution. I was like, I'm just going to do it. And it starts off like, we just don't know what we're doing, really. I mean, kind of.
I'll let you in on a secret. Neither do I, and I've been doing this for a few years.
You just get better, though. Like, you do it, and then you know, like you learn from the process of doing it. Yeah. So that's the plan, is to get better.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed the ones you've put up as well. I quite like the bickering the two of you have been doing.
Yeah, me and Matty Knucklebones Miniatures. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you've now got Mini Gangs 2 out. Do you want to tell us a bit about it? What's different in the new edition?
It's a book. So yeah, really nice book. Really good printing.
It's brilliant paper as well. The ex-librarian in me is looking at that going, wow, this feels like a cover, not a page.
Well, I went for the highest quality paper just because it didn't really make much difference to the price. It was like 30p difference. So I'm like, well, I might as well go for it. I think maybe I've printed on slightly thick paper, but it's definitely going to be a hardcore. Like, it's not going to get. It's going to last.
It's going to survive being thrown in your bag and carried around to gaming, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The main differences are very small. The only real change I made was to change the points cost of the characters when you're playing it in hardcore mode. But the real big thing was like there were loads of spelling errors. So I tried to catch all the spelling errors. And just make the book easier to use. The first edition was very much focused on people who have never played any kind of like tabletop games before. Yeah. Which is, I left all that in there, but I also added in like the quick start for right at the beginning of the book for people who are coming into this from playing board games before. Yeah. And know what they're doing. So it's just like they just want to read it and get on with playing. Yeah. So they're the real major differences. I changed some of the artwork, added a few new bits.
Well, some lovely artwork. Some of your figures, painted up beautifully in there. But I quite like the fact there's actual some of the drawings and things as well. And it's nicely done.
Yeah, no AI.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, another thing is as well. I did a new reference sheet on the back. Yeah. Which really does make the game so easy to play.
Well, I know when we played it the other day, there's a video on the channel about that. It was there. That was all you needed. You didn't need anything else.
How many new players? I think we have 2 new players in that game. And they just
at least 2,
just picked
wasn't
it up straight away, didn't they?
It just flew.
Yeah,
it was quite amusing watching us in the bottom corner deciding actually, really, never mind fighting for the king and queen. There's all these coins down here. Let's find them for that random event.
That was something that Ben sent me, who's on Instagram, Apocrypha Now. He sent us some like experimental rules to try out that we were using.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
It did add a bit to the game.
It did. So I mean, you've sort of talked about the sort of the philosophy of the game. But you say it's got the different levels. Do you want to sort of elaborate on that?
Okay. Well, it's got 3 basic ways to play the game. The first one is called Gateway, which is free on our website if you want to go and check it out. And it's aimed at complete novices. So I wrote it so as my 6-year-old could play it, so as we could play some games together. But also just that thing of occasionally, I don't know, your spouse or your friends will be like, oh, you're into this thing. I want to have a go. Yeah. And you can't get them to play, Warhammer or like some of the historical games. I've seen some of them that are like just charts and charts and charts and charts. And you can't expect somebody to like get their head around that to start with. Yeah. So that's the main thing with mini gangs, is to try and like make it so that it's completely accessible. But that sort of gateway is very limited. you have 4 models, and that's it. Everybody has the same, and you know it's this really really simple game. But it does capture all those things that you want in a war game of like you know, your strategy, your placing, movement, cover, psychology, just in a really accessible way. But then, like for people who want to go a little bit deeper, then there's the next level up, which is called Casual, which adds a deck of cards into the game. And it's exactly the same as the Gateway version, but you deal out these 8 cards, and they've got equipment, strategies, special rules and things, extra guns, that you then decide which member of your gang gets which thing. And then it just makes it into much more like a deeper experience, especially for people who are used to these more complicated games. For them, 8 special cards isn't anything, isn't taxing on your brain. And it turns it into this real like beer and pretzels games that is like, you know, your friends are like, oh, I fancy playing a game, but you know, I haven't got my army ready, or I don't fancy anything particularly, you know, difficult tonight. You just chuck it down and you can have 2 or 3 games in an evening. I mean, we did them on, that's the one we did on your channel, isn't it?
We did. We actually played a number of levels, didn't we? And what I'll do is I'll link into that in the description and in the end title, so people can come back and have a look at it.
And then the final way of playing is hardcore, which is the same. It's all the cards, but instead of being on cards, you've got like a list of things, and then everything has a point system attached to it. So you can build any kind of gang you like. You're not just stuck with the 4 characters, and so you can use it to do again like just a really low impact game. We play it a lot multiplayer, so that people can, you know, like sort of when you're at a club or doing an event or something, you want to get people to come in, or you want to just chuck stuff down, and you don't want each game to last an hour.
No.
So we were playing 6 people. Was it 7 people?
6 or 7.
Yeah, it was 7 people the other day, and that was like 2.5 hours, I think.
I don't think it was even that, was it?
Well, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't
it?
But yeah, it was.
Yeah. And what I did find with it as well is it became a very narrative battle. The story was actually developing as we played it, which is always a sign of a good game for me.
Yeah, I completely agree.
You weren't playing the rules; you were playing a story.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
I mean, the fact that the models have a grand total of 1 attribute.
Yeah.
That's a very clever design feature.
Thanks. So it's called Awesomeness.
Yeah.
And then when some of the rolls that you make, for example, shooting, you have to roll over your number, and some rolls, for example, fighting, you have to roll under it. So then you get this real balance between people who are like combat monsters and people who are like marksmen. And then some of the characters can't actually do shooting actions, and some of the characters can't do sort of a charge action. So you know the different actions that you can do combined with these sort of this sort of single stat, really gives you like a big broad range where you can kind of represent all the different battlefield roles that you want to put in a game, but without like, you know, 10 numbers to remember for 15 characters. Then you've got to know your opponent's ones as well. It's all just there. It's just really simple.
Well, it was interesting watching just how abbreviated everyone's army list was in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally sort of 1 number per figure with just a little note about any kit they had.
Yeah.
So it really was good. I think one of your cleverest design mechanisms, though, actually you sort of touched on there, was the way that different characters have different actions available to them.
Okay.
That was an incredibly clever mechanic to differentiate between someone who can charge into close combat and somebody who's reluctant to, because they'll move in but not be able to attack, which means they'll be attacked first.
Yeah.
So a very elegant mechanism.
Or just really fight back. It's kind of your support characters, your snipers and your medics who aren't necessarily combat trained, but you still got a chance of like whopping the other guy if he gets too close.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's such a lovely, fun little simple system, and you've touched on as well the sheer lack of figures you need. You know, 4 figures, and you've got your army.
Yeah.
You know, and you sell some of those as well. I believe you created a few gangs. that you sell?
We've got up on the website at the moment. I've got the Smollecton Scarecrows, who are the guys on the cover.
I love those. I've got some of those. They are so easy to paint as well.
Yeah, just like a couple of colours, isn't it? Because they're all sort of robed. I did have some other models in production, but this was sort of a few years ago, and because I worked with two different resins, and the better quality resin was one that I wasn't that great at making the moulds for. But since then, I've got better at it, and the company that I was using went bust. So I've dug out the other mini gangs that I'm sort of making the moulds for at the moment, and they should be out pretty soon.
Oh,
really good quality resin.
You'll have to let us know, and we can start putting
sure.
some of them onto the reviews that I do.
I mean, they're pictured in the rule books as well, because that was sort of what I photographed with, not knowing that this company was going to go under.
Yeah, it's interesting the way the wargaming world is going at the minute. It seems, I think, to be going through a bit of a renaissance with lots and lots of new companies coming in, but quite a few of them then go under as well, which is always the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that I haven't gone bust yet. And I've been doing this since 2006, and sometimes, like, I'm a small business selling slightly weird models, so occasionally you just get really close to that, like, but then then it's like double down, get a set out, do some promotion.
Yeah, you heard him, folks. Go out and buy his figures. But no, the other thing I liked as well with the rules. I'm a big believer in small games. I do most of my gaming on a kitchen table. And you've actually got the recommended table sizes, the smallest I've ever seen, of 50 by 50 centimetres.
Yeah, I like centimetres.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people like inches, and it seems to be the standard. But, I mean, I always grew up, at school using centimetres, and like having your 12-inch 30-centimetre ruler is, I just think, a great way to visualise distance. Because we all are so familiar with it.
Yeah.
And then, because I sort of based this kind of the shooting around your sort of 30-centimetre ruler, when I was thinking about like how to kind of describe how to start playing the game, I didn't want people to be able to shoot each other straight away.
Yeah.
Unless you're using hardcore or casual and you've spec'd into the sniper rifle, which gives you a bit of a longer range.
Yeah, that was quite interesting watching that on that game the other week.
Oh yeah.
Because there were a couple of people using sniper rifles, but they were countered by some very clever movement and use of cover, which I think was very nicely.
And so like ultimately when you're playing a game, you want kind of the first turn to be this sort of like you've put your models down, but then you need to do a bit of manoeuvring to get into position, and then you want to be playing. So that's sort of you've got a 10-centimetre move. So the game starts. Everybody starts 40 centimetres apart. So you could play on a 40-centimetre board if you want to. Quite often we'll do like instead of putting all your models on the board, you sort of put down a spawn point and then kind of move them on. So you can get down to 40 centimetre by 40 centimetre.
Yeah.
Tiny.
It's great because I've made a few boards and they can be knocked. A board that size you can knock up in an afternoon if you.
Well, you were just telling me about your board that you did knock up in an afternoon.
Yeah, the jungle board, complete with all the scattered terrain as well, which will be out on the channel shortly. If it's not on already, it depends which order I get round to editing the videos.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I mean, the other one that I did that was very popular was the Mordheim board, which came.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that worked really nice. I'm working on the buildings for that at the moment. I've got a lot of MDF currently cluttering up a box at home.
Yeah, I think the trick with Mordheim is lots of depth.
Yeah.
Because you get advantages, don't you, if you're like attacking from higher up, I think?
Yeah. But then, I mean, is this probably an even faster way to play it?
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, the gang I created the other day, actually, even though it's a science fiction post-apocalypse game, I based around fantasy.
For mini gangs?
For mini gangs.
Well, I mean, I like post-apocalyptic, and a lot of my models are post-apocalyptic, but it really doesn't, the game is just a very simple rule system that you can apply to any
Yeah.
whatever you like, whether it's, you know, I mean, got Orcs and Goblins. I've got a couple of Orc and Goblin mini games where the, you know, the shooter is either a wizard who does fireballs or a guy with a bow.
Yeah.
And you know, and then everything else is the same. Like, I mean, the game we were playing the other day was sort of fantasy themed.
It was.
And we'd add like things like it's got, you know, one of the things you could buy is a powered exoskeleton for your armor, powered armor. But you know, you can always think of the fantasy type, which is like dwarven robot armor, or
Well, I used the phosphorus grenade as fireball spell.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I had a wizard
really nicely.
And you know, things as well like you know, your guns and things is a wizard doing a fireball, or you know, powered combat weapon. I mean, that's just a magic sword, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you could even go back to if you remember the old classic Citadel miniature, sort of pre-slaughter base of wizard with submachine gun.
Yeah, one of my favourites, definitely a classic.
I really need to get that. If anyone on anyone watching the channel has one, please let me know.
Well, Knucklebones miniature. Did a sort of a homage figure to it.
I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, he was using it as Father Christmas in a Christmas game.
Yeah, it kind of sums up the sort of things that we've gamed, doesn't it? Yeah. So, I mean, I love the rules. I think if I just want something I can just pick up, quick game, and it even plays nicely solo against yourself as well, I find.
Yeah, I do need to do like some solo sort of behaviour charts.
Well, you've got one in the rulebook, haven't you, for the
robot.
The robot. So that could be an interesting way to sort of just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do more supplements as well. I quite enjoy doing like this and that to add to the game. Like, and I need to do some vehicles. There's some other character classes that I'd like to sort of do a sheet for them. And yeah, a solo play thing would be pretty good.
That would be fun.
Like a little solo play campaign, so you can sort of.
That would be interesting.
Play a few nights or whatever.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned as well about the fact that you've got the basic rules free on your website, but there's some other stuff on the website you were telling me about earlier as well.
Yeah, I've got essentially I've got 3 websites. I've got ramshacklegames.co.uk. Then there's the shop, because you don't really want to have your kind of like the main website is kind of like a blog.
Yeah.
And then the shop, you don't really want to have them sort of all the same things. It just looks messy. But then I wanted a space as well to just put up stuff that I like, that I want to do. Well, I'm quite interested in a little bit of coding as well, a little bit of HTML. So if you go to downloads.ramshacklegames.co.uk, there's a whole bunch of stuff on there. There's free stuff to download. So there's like I've got another game as well called Nuclear Renaissance. You can download the rulebook for that. You can download Minigang's Gateway. So that's the really basic game.
Yeah.
It's 4 pages of A4. So you can have a look at that. And then recently I got involved with these really cool guys, the Wire Brothers, who run a website called Between the Bolter and Me.
You're getting the subtle clue where this one goes, don't you, background-wise? Well,
I mean, they are quite interested in 40k, but I mean, you know, I come from a Warhammer background. That's what I was doing as a kid. Military models and Warhammer. You know, that's what I loved. But they've done what they're calling open invitational for a setting that they've made, which is like a cathedral world called Vastarian, set in the galactic empire of your choice, and. The idea is that there were these like religious factions, cults, that were on this cathedral world, pretty much in harmony with each other. But then recently some event has happened and they've started to get visions and, you know, go a bit mad basically, and violence has erupted. So you play as one of these kind of like crummy little sort of cults of real weirdos, and it's up to you what you make. And to get involved with it, you make models, post online, play games, but it's not tied to Warhammer 40,000 or sort of their sort of branch of games. You can just play any game with it you want. So what I've done is I did like a conversion, a supplement for the Minigangs Gateway. So you can download Minigangs Gateway, and then you can download the Minigangs Vastarian, which is kind of like the hardcore version of Minigangs, but just pared down. So it's really, really themed. But it's a point system. There's a whole bunch of really simple upgrades. And yeah, it's all free on the downloads page. So if you fancy giving the game a go, you know, go and have a look at that, and it'll give you a taste of what it's like to play hardcore.
Well, that might be well worth a look.
But without so many overwhelming things to get your head around.
I mean, if you remember my old gang with the red-robed cultists, I could easily add a couple of new figures to that with guns, and I've got a force.
I mean, they don't need to have guns, it's minigangs, so you can do like...
well, it'll sci-fi it up, because it was a fantasy-based one, wasn't it?
But then, you know, like, these are just guys in robes, nutters, on a weird planet that, like, you know, I think I'm going to be running one of my gangs. It's going to be like a psychic choir of just because I added I tweaked the character classes as well, and added like a civilian character class. So I'm going to have like some psychic ones at them. So they'll be really weak. They won't be able to do anything, but then they'll be able to do these sort of like super powerful psychic attacks that quite often go wrong and your head explodes. So.
Yeah, that does seem to be a pattern of Warhammer, doesn't it?
Yeah. Grimdark as you like.
Yeah, very much. I did see there was a meme floating around where Dungeons and Dragons, your spell fails and the player sulks. Warhammer, your character casts a spell, it fails, your head explodes. Fair enough. It is that sort of thing,
Grimdark, pathetic aesthetic as well.
I like that description. That's
definitely something that I like to lean into.
Yeah. No, you definitely have fun, don't you, when you create these?
You have to, every time. There's no point in doing it if it's not.
No.
You know, fun is the main thing.
Well, it always amused me how much fun you manage to have out of your work.
I'm lucky, I'm very lucky. You know, it's... And there is a lot of, like, boring stuff to do. Like, you know, casting and packing takes up, you know, more than half my time. You know, it's a good day when I actually get to sit down and push some putty around and do some painting. You'd think running a war games company, it'd all be painting stuff and playing games, but, you know, it's work.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get up energised in the mornings because I know that there's people out there who share my interests and are happy to buy some stuff off me and support me.
Yeah, it always amazes you when people actually go, I love your stuff and I want to buy something, doesn't it?
I think, you know, people see the passion in what you do and relate to it. And like all this extra, like having fancy lights or, you know, massive production facilities, it's like, you don't need it.
Nice if you've got them, is the way I look at it.
Yeah, but it's not about that, it's about the passion and about what you're into.
Well, that's it, and this is a great way to get people involved in the hobby, I think, the mini games. So, thanks for that. What we'll do is, I hate to think how many links we've managed to get. I'll try and list them all in the accompanying brain's gone blank, a bit by the side of the videos, you know the bit I mean. Yeah, well, I mean, I've got a lot of influences, and thanks for having me on, James. You're welcome. It's always a pleasure. I mean, you've given me so much fun with this, and you know, and I've actually picked up some new figures off you to paint up and review as well, so it's been worthwhile me coming down today.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please click on the like button below so that I know what people like and I know what to make more of. Alternatively, if you've enjoyed it and think you'd like to see more, please click on the subscribe button. That way you get notified by YouTube whenever I bring out a new video. And you never know, there might be something in there that you hadn't considered, because I do cover a variety of things on the channel. And finally, if you have a little bit of cash going, I now have a Patreon account. I'm always looking for patrons because at the end of the day, let's be perfectly honest, it's a good way for me to get a little bit of money that will use to buy review items or to travel to museums and so on. I don't put a huge amount on that. At the minute, all we've got is one tier charging £1. a month, which just, as I say, helps cover my costs. See you soon.